Hi, Dr. Cook here. This podcast is about designing web pages using cascading style sheets, or CSS. This is optional in this course. You do not have to incorporate CSS. But if you want to further your web development skills at all, I encourage you to learn more about CSS. The W3C recommends that web designers use CSS to control the layout and style of web pages. How did this come about? Well, in early versions of HTML, web developers were frustrated because the tags were very rudimentary and they had little control over how the page looked. So slowly, style tags were added, and by 1997, with version 3 of HTML, there were numerous style tags, and developers could change fonts, center tags, and add color. However, web developers quickly realized that they had a problem, because the amount of repetitive markup required on a large or complex website was getting to be a ridiculous amount of work. So, in 1999, the W3C released version 4 of HTML, and at that time they removed all formatting tags from the HTML file and created CSS, cascading style sheets, to store style and layout information. In CSS, you select an HTML element, like a header or a paragraph, and then you make declarations about how you want to style the element. Let's do this. We'll open Notepad, a new untitled file, and let's make a CSS declaration for a heading 1. So first you name the element, then you use these curly brackets, and you enter a property, let's say color, and the value of that property, let's say blue. And let's say we also want to control the font size, and let's make it larger than normal because this is a header, so we'll say 2 EMs. That's enough for now, so we'll end the declaration by a curly bracket. There you have it, your first cascading style sheet. Now all you have to do is save this as, and notice this is in my U the Web folder, same folder as index.html, and I'm going to call it whatever I want, but I'll say utheweb.css, and there we have it. Now I have to backtrack a bit because there's 3 ways to get the CSS into your web page. The first way is using inline styles. This may seem easy at first, but it quickly becomes tedious. If you go to the Web Toolbox, click on CSS Designing Pages, you'll see an example of an inline style here in this box. Now that seems very straightforward, that all you'd have to do is add that. However, every time you have a paragraph tag in your HTML file, you're going to have to repeat these styles every time. I think you can see that that will quickly become quite tedious. Another way to do it we saw in our student.html page, and that was called internal style sheet. Let's open this page again to refresh your memory. Here you notice in the head section there is style, a style declaration, and an ending style tag. Now that's quite simple, and that would have to be copied into every page. However, if you had a lot of style declarations for body, headers, header 1, header 2, paragraphs, etc., this could get to be quite lengthy and add a lot to your website's footprint on the web. So although it is an improvement over inline styles, it still can be a lot more work than the third way, which is using an external style sheet. So how do I get this attached to this? Very easily. Let's open index.html in Notepad. And within the header, here, between here and here, doesn't really matter where, I'm going to add a link to my style sheet. Looks like this. Link. I'm telling it what kind of style sheet it is. Then I say the type. And then I do the hypertext reference. Where is this style sheet located? And since it's in the same folder as index.html, I simply have to type viewtheweb.css. And then I end the tag. Let's save this. And now I can close index.html because I don't have to do anything more to this page in order to change fonts, color, and layout. We're done with that. But let's open index.html in a browser so we can see what it looks like. Now you notice previously our header was black and it is now blue. If I want to change the header to, let's say, red, all I do is go back to this, type red, save it, go back to the browser, reload, and now our header is in red. Let's do some more. For the accessibility assignment, you will be asked to change the background color on your page. So let's add that. So for the body, we're going to declare that we want background color. And I looked this up in advance. It's a nice, pretty yellow color. And we also need to make sure that we have a sans serif font, not a serif font that is usually the default within the browser. So I want font family Verdana. And that's it. We'll end with a curly bracket. We'll save this, go back to the page, and reload. Wasn't that easy? We have now a serif Verdana font. We have a nice yellow background. We have a heading with a color. And you just carry on like this. Let's say you want the header to be centered on the page. You go text, align, center. Notice the American spelling, please, of center. Save this, go back to here, reload, and there it is in the center. So now you get the idea, and to get more information on what tags to use, I highly recommend you go to W3 School's CSS tutorial. They have all kinds of try-it-yourself examples and a very easy to understand tutorial with a quiz at the end to check yourself. Good luck, have fun, and bye for now.